See what a historical courtroom looked like. This is the place to come. Incredible woodwork, a beautiful design, and you can almost see the jury sitting in the jury box and the judge sitting on the bench, ready to come down with a ruling. The Pacific County Courthouse, maybe the most beautiful in our state, and a good place to visit. This is one of my favorite places.
My name is Daniela Cruz. I am in 8th grade and I am from Ferndale. As part of the Latino community, I've done research about ICE in schools, and I've seen students being absent and missing important work due to the fear of being taken from their families. How does the legislator plan to comply with federal and state laws while also making these students and families feel safe and welcome at both home and school?
Thank you for that additional great question. Yeah, I appreciate you bringing those concerns. I do want to point out first that immigration law is federal. The enforcement of immigration law is also federal. And so there's a lot surrounding immigration and customs enforcement activity that the legislature simply doesn't have lawful authority to restrict. But I do realize that going back to the Obama administration, Trump's first administration, the Biden administration, under all those administrations, there was a policy in
Recording in progress.
Starting again.
Good morning. For the past few years, the online gambling company Kalshi has allowed people to bet on almost every aspect of our lives. Sports, elections, the length of presidential press conferences. And the company takes in huge sums of money from Washingtonians. And when it does that, it violates Washington state law. Online gambling is illegal in Washington. And that is why this morning we filed a civil consumer protection case against the company in the state court. Research also shows that online gambling is one of the most addictive forms of gambling, available 24/7, and often targeted at young people and children. We have in this state consumer safeguards around betting and a highly regulated gaming market, specifically because of the inherent risk of unbridled gambling. Kalshi, in its work, says that what it does is not gambling. They reframe it as a prediction market. But if you spend just a moment on their website, you'll see very easily that this is a gambling site. They claim to offer a financial product, but Kalshi really is just a bookie with a fancy name and a huge amount of venture capital behind them. Using Kalshi, you can bet on every single March Madness game, but not just the game, but also on the number of the seeds in the semifinals, the number of players who will score 40 or more points during the game, anyone who might get a triple-double. You can also bet on the next words coming out of someone's mouth. Earlier this week, people used Kalshi to place bets on what the United States Supreme Court justices would say during a case. And as we've seen in many instances, online prediction platforms like Kalshi are rife with the potential for insider trading and corruption. People can bet on the outcome of military operations that put American lives at risk. And this creates obvious opportunities for those with insider knowledge to wager on the outcome. You can also bet on the length of a press conference. In January of this year, bets were made on Kalshi on when the White House press secretary would end the press conference. And when it ended abruptly, people questioned whether or not the move was prearranged. You could even bet on whether Steve Bannon will say the word Trump more than 3 times in a speech that he's giving today. The implications of these activities pose real, grave ethical concerns that go well beyond what we associate with traditional gambling. And for their efforts, enticing people to bet on their platform, Kalshi is now valued at over $22 billion. Here in Washington state, we have a robust system that protects how gambling operates in our state. Since Washington's founding in 1889, we've tightly regulated gambling in our Constitution and through our state statutes. This policy protects the health and the welfare and the safety of Washingtonians. Despite that history, despite those laws, despite the words of our Constitution, many of Kalshi's activities fall squarely within our state's definition of gambling. If it's a bet on a game of chance or a potential future event, then it's gambling. Each bet on Kalshi, risk money, relies in part on chance and promises a payout to winners. I think everyone understands why that is gambling. In calling themselves a prediction market, they're misleading Washingtonians because their advertisements talk about a way to bet on the NFL even though we live in Washington. They publicly pat themselves on the back for being sneaky and getting around Washington's gambling laws. But it's worse than being sneaky. It's a lie and it's illegal. This is the second lawsuit that I filed this year about illegal gambling because it's part of an important public health issue. Gambling is addictive, and online gambling in particular is uniquely dangerous. When people suffer from problem gambling, they can lose their homes, their families, even their lives. And despite these dangers, Kalshi has engaged in influencer campaigns targeting college students, even trying to recruit 15-year-old kids to promote gambling to their followers. Kalshi's platform can serve gambling opportunities to these young people at all hours of the day and use techniques like push notifications to keep them hooked to their services. Our suit alleges that Kalshi violated Washington state's gambling laws and our Consumer Protection Act. We're suing to stop their unlawful conduct and activities and to return money to Washingtonians that they have lost and for Kalshi to pay for breaking Washington state law. But beyond those legal arguments, cases like this should make us question what kind of society we want to live in. Do we want everything to be gambling? Do we want to be an America that goes from worrying about the human cost of war to betting on the over-unders of that war? What else would we lose about ourselves if the whole world became a craps table? And what will that be? And will that be the public's decision, or should we let venture capitalists make that decision for us? Kalshi's CEO said that their long-term vision is to financialize everything and create a tradable asset on any difference in opinion. That is not the principle that is grounded in the Washington State Constitution, nor the future that Washingtonians want for ourselves and our children. There are brilliant, brilliant people working at Kalshi, and there are brilliant people who use the platform. We have to imagine and ask ourselves what they could build if they are putting their energies towards something different, something productive, something that creates and adds to our society. Instead of betting on war, we should be working to end war. Instead of betting on Congress, we should be encouraging young people to run for Congress. We don't want to predict the future, we want to shape the future. We're bringing this case not just to enforce Washington state law and to stop illegal betting, but to improve the lives of Washingtonians. And I think all of us will be better off if more of our energy was used on improving society, helping our neighbors, serving our communities, rather than placing bets as the world burns. I'll take your questions now.
I have a question from the Seattle Times on Zoom. Go ahead, David.
Hi, thanks for taking the question. What makes you confident that you'll get courts to label this company a gambling company as opposed to what it claims to be a prediction market? That I think they would point to themselves like a financial market, like a stock market or something like that.
We feel pretty confident in our case, and in large part because I think if you go onto Kalshi's website and you see the myriad of opportunities that you can place money on, depending on an outcome, including sports, including how many points are going to be scored at a game, it looks and smells like gambling because it is gambling. And we have seen a number of cases across the state where that is being reinforced. I know by giving it a title like prediction markets and trying to claim that they're offering some new financial product, at the end of the day, it's people placing bets on the outcomes of things that are yet to be determined. And that is illegal in Washington.
Seattle Times has a follow-up question.
Yeah, what are you seeking? Is there a damages number, or what are you seeking?
We're seeking first and foremost for Kalshi to stop. We're filing a motion for preliminary injunction to prohibit them from operating their product in Washington state, which will prevent ongoing harm based on these illegal activities. And as the case moves forward, we'll determine how much money was taken from Washingtonians and done so illegally, and hope to recover money for people in this state and hold Kalshi accountable. But we're early on determining what that amount will be.
No other questions.
All right. Thank you all for joining us. Appreciate it.
We've got a photo for that one move it. Stop.
Record.